So Joe, how would you describe the year 2022 through the eyes of the Bronco?
For the Bronco, it was pretty rough.
So while we were out on trail this year, we did a little bit of damage to the 2021 Bronco. Can you run me off some of the things that we did?
Yeah, so starting up front, we got a pretty nice scratch in the ARB bumper, but thankfully that was able to fill in with a little bit of touch-up paint. If we did not have this bumper on, we definitely would have caused some damage to this fender here, probably would have ripped off this fender flare, and possibly could have damaged the headlight and grille up here. And these LED headlights are extremely expensive to replace. So let's roll a clip and see how that protected our truck.
Well, all the way, all the way. Oh,
First
nice.
knock.
Come towards me just a little bit. All right, oh.
So moving over to fender flares, this is something that I definitely think is a consumable on this truck, just because of how far these stick out. The Bronco is really wide itself when we're out on trail. We've noticed that even from our first trip up at AOAA that we are definitely one of the widest trucks out there. When we were up on a trail ride with Ridgeback Guide Service, we got into a bit of a sticky situation where we came around a boulder and didn't exactly have the clearance to get around it, and we got really lucky. So all we have is a little bit of a cut here into the paint that does go into a bit of the sheet metal. We also have a lot of scuffs going on here. I believe this is actually the original fender from when we crashed into that rock.
We may have made it,
But it could have been very bad.
it also could have went douche like that.
Yeah. Oh, he's on the fender.
These are consumables. For the way we wheel, I definitely think this won't be the last fender we go through, and it's nice that they're so easy to take on and off, because I definitely think we might be seeing more of these in our future. Moving over to our big 37s up front here, we're running 17-inch Evo Course wheels. That way we can fit a big power brake behind them. You can tell that we've got a lot of scratches here. This is just a byproduct of us sliding off rocks on the trail, kind of getting into tight spots. But the best thing is, this is a super easy fix. We actually have our wheel guy in here today to clean this up.
Hey everyone, I'm the wheel expert here. I'm going to show you, if you scratch up your wheels, how we fix them. We love black wheels here because it is super easy to bring them back to that nice factory shiny finish.
Now that the truck's up in the air, we're gonna move underneath and kind of give everything a once over, starting with the transcooler here.
So before our December trail ride, we kind of did a good once over the truck. We had the front skid plates out, just checking everything out, and we noticed that the front transcooler was absolutely packed with mud. And it was a good thing we caught it because we were about to embark on about 8 or 9 hour drive, and especially on trail when you're running low range, the trans temperatures definitely get high. So that was something we necessarily weren't expecting to find, but that is a tip to everyone out there. Make sure you check your radiator, transcoolers, all those cooling components, and make sure they're clear of mud, and so you're not gonna have an issue on the trail overheating or anything like that.
What's the shape of these cross members?
Yeah, so these cross members are, I would say, pretty dusted.
Dusted, beat,
Trash.
starting to rust. We've got some pretty deep nicks here from when we've definitely fallen off a rock, and this has been the first point of contact.
Yeah, when you look under this truck, these cross members are definitely kind of the lowest point. They're actually sitting a little bit below the front lower control arms. So it obviously looks like that's kind of the most common point of contact, at least up in the front. So taking a look at the front of the trailing arm mount that attaches to the frame here, you can see we've scraped this a good bit. It's pretty dented in. I know this is the lowest point kind of on the truck in the rear, and I try to be pretty mindful of this spot, but I would say this is kind of one of the design complaints I would have on the Bronco, is just the rear controlling arm setup. They're kind of in the way. If you look on a Jeep or something else, you can see they're kind of tucked in closer to the wheel. So this is definitely a pretty vulnerable spot when you're out on the trail and trying to get over the big rocks.
So the shock reservoirs are mounted super low. You can see them right here. And if we didn't have this skid, this would be extremely vulnerable, especially with the kind of wheeling we do where we're moving over big rocks, that we don't want to puncture this in any kind of way or bend this shock mount. So the fact that we have these skids on here is perfect, and it gives us a lot of peace of mind. I know when we were up at AOAA for our first trail ride ever in the Bronco, Joe went over a pretty gnarly piece of ledge, and I heard the trailing arm scrape from front to back and eventually go over the skid. It's actually pretty hard to watch, but I'll show you here.
So moving on to the back diff here, it's actually fared pretty well. A little bit of scrapes and scratches, but they actually have pretty good clearance on the rear diff here, so that hasn't been a big issue for us. We did do one gear oil change in here after a particular deep and muddy trail ride up in New Hampshire. So that's something we always recommend is if you are going through deep water crossings or spend a lot of time in muddy, dirty water, you're definitely going to change out the diff fluid. After trips like that, you don't want any water getting in there, kind of separating the oil and causing problems for you down the road.
So after everything we've done this year with this truck, the biggest thing comes down to maintenance. While this is a brand new Bronco, you're not going to be able to just rip it out of the box and not have to worry about it. If you're wheeling it the way we are and the way most people are, you're going to have to keep up with this truck.
Yeah, so the maintenance definitely helps with some of the wearable items such as tires. The first thing we did after this trail ride season is we got an alignment, especially with independent front suspension trucks like the Bronco, 4Runner, Tacoma, anything like that. It's relatively easy to knock them out of alignment slightly, and it might not be something...
And ours was.
Yeah, ours was definitely out. It might not be something you notice while you're driving, but just slight changes in the degree there will have effects on your tire wear and stuff like that. So we did an alignment, rotated the tires. It's kind of that basic stuff. Like we said earlier, we did a diff fluid change in it, and we've done a lot of oil changes in this truck.
Yeah, the truck has about 14,000 miles on it now, and I believe we've done at least 3, if not 4 oil changes.
I would think 4 or 5, yeah.
I could be wrong. It could be 4 or 5.
I always order the oil, so I would know.
Yeah, so while we've done a lot to this truck in 2022, we definitely haven't stopped. If anything, we're going to be throwing more parts at this truck in 2023. What do you expect to see coming down the pike for the Bronco?
Yeah, so personally on my list, the biggest thing is getting this thing on a proper suspension. So this has the Sasquatch package, so it has the Bilstein shocks on there, which we did a zone 3-inch spacer lift on. It really served the purpose for what we needed. We wanted 37s on here right away.
In a pinch, yeah.
In a pinch, yeah, pretty much. And it performed good for us, but with all this extra weight we added, you definitely notice that weight on trail. It's pretty bouncy. On the road, there's tons of sway.
It's got a lot of rollover on the road.
So I think getting this thing on a proper suspension would really dial in how it feels on and off trail and really transform the truck. That's probably my biggest complaint right now is this suspension. Because we've added probably 250 pounds with this front bumper, 200 pounds, 150 with the rear bumper. We have a goose gear kitchen in the back, which isn't light.
So we've added a lot of weight to this truck.
Yeah.
I mean, even just throwing the power brakes on from factory adds some weight.
So definitely getting this on a proper suspension, probably looking at a King or Fox setup, do coilovers all around. I think that would really make this truck
really improve the ride and
joy to drive.
One of the other things that we're looking to change is the sliders on the truck. The factory sliders look great, but they don't exactly operate to our needs.
Yeah, there's definitely some trails that I decided not to go down and some lines I decided not to take because of the sliders that were on here. They'll protect you from little boulder smashes and stuff like that, but I do not trust putting the full weight of the truck on these. I remember on one trail ride we went on, there's one line where every truck was pretty much putting its whole weight on their sliders, and everyone that had good sliders was taking that line and they got through it. But I decided to be safe and take the safer line. But
because it's not our truck.
Exactly. I definitely wish I took the hard line, but maybe next year.
So be sure to look out. We've actually got our 2023 Trail Ride Series schedule out, and we're going to be taking this truck on every trip we go up on with our new parts. So if you'd like to join us, we have a link down in the description. You can see that. We also have a full build playlist of this truck from the start to where we are now, so you can see every mod we've put on up to this point. And if you check out our Trail Ride series, we've got all the wheeling footage of this on there as well. Thanks for watching.